You know, with platforms like YouTube, every year more and more Stillwater fly fishers are becoming aware of the great patterns designed and used in the United Kingdom. And this pattern is a perfect example. Hi everyone, I'm Phil Rowley and welcome to my fly tying bench and to my YouTube channel. If you've been here before, thanks for dropping by once again. If this is your first time visiting my channel, you'll find fly tying and fly fishing video content designed to make your next day on the water just that little bit more successful. Today I'm tying you the humongous or the shuggy, a simple pattern that has leech and minnow properties, and one thing's for sure, trout love it. If you're ever going to fish Henry's Lake in Idaho, make sure you have this fly in your box. It's simple to tie, it works on a variety of still waters, it's a must-have. So join me, I'll show you how I tie it. So let's tie the humongous, an extremely popular pattern in the UK, a must-have. And on a recent trip to Idaho's Henry's Lake, the cutthroat hybrids and brookies liked it too. So here we go. So into the vise, I've placed a Daiichi 1530 number 10. Starting off, I'm going to use some black tying thread, some black power silk, 8/0 Textreme, UTC 70, whatever you like to use. Get that in place. Put a good base layer around the shank. Initially starting here with the point hanging halfway between the point and the crushed down barb, we're going to come forward and at about 2 hook eye widths back from the hook eye, we are going to tie in a pair of bead chain eyes. So we'll just get those and we're just going to figure eight those in place. A little bit forward, maybe in a hook eye width back. So we're just going to figure eight those in place, like so, in and around, to lock them in place. So we'll go around, and then we can go under and around and under and around. We're going under the eyes, like this, and then we'll want to constrict all those wraps, so then we'll place some horizontal wraps under the eyes, but above the shank, and then every once in a while give it a pull forward, and what that does is it takes all those wraps that you've wrapped in and around and figure eighted around the eyes and draws them all tight. So just make sure they're nice and firm in there. Those feel pretty good. And then of course you can always add a little dab of super glue to the wraps. That'll hold them too. So the next thing we're going to do is tie in our flash because it protrudes out longer than the marabou tail. So I'm just going to use some gold. You could use silver because this fly we typically tie in a gold body and a silver body. I'm going to tie the gold version. That's the one that worked well for me in down on Henry's Lake, as I mentioned earlier. So this is just gold Flashabou. And I've notched the corner a little bit. And notched the package rather. And I'm just going to reach in and pull out 3 to 4 strands or 5 lengths if I can. Maybe one more there. Pull those out of the package. And once they're out of the package, I'm just going to trim them off out of here and we'll secure them in. So I moisten them to keep them all together. And I'm going to lay them on the barrel of the bobbin. So they're more or less equal amounts on either side of that point. Grab both ends, slide them off the bobbin, up onto the tying thread, up onto the shank like so, and secure them all the way along. And we're actually going to secure them down into the bend a little bit because this is not, it helps both the tail from fouling because it's an exaggerated long tail. So we're going to hold those in place like so, and then we'll trim those to length a little bit. The tail itself is made up of marabou. This is a select plume. It's got a nice stiff stem, thick stem that tends to produce marabou fibers that have lots of, the plumes have lots of, the individual fibers have lots of web on them. So I'm just going to strip off a clump from probably the middle third of this feather. So I'm just going to reach in and I'm just going to stand those fibers up perpendicular to the stem. That'll help even up the tips because I don't want to pinch this tail to length. I like the long tips to get maximum movement. And I'm just going to strip. I can only strip so much, and I fold what I have stripped onto what I haven't, and I just sort of strip and roll all the way down the feather until I've removed the section of marabou I want to use. Just like that. I've got a nice long section of marabou that I can work with, because the tail on this sticks out the back approximately 3 shank lengths. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So quite a long flowing tail. This is lots of movement. So I'm going to secure this along the entire length of the shank. So I'm just going to move my right thumb and forefinger up. You can see the thread hanging below. That's where I'm going to come in and trim off the waist, the butt areas that were attached to the stem, and then come in and put a couple of wraps around those trimmed butts. That'll lock everything in place, and just keep my fingers on the material and walk that thread back like so, all the way back, and again slightly down the bend. Simple practice helps reduce fouling. And then bring that back up, and then we're going to trim our Flashabou just a little off camera, but I'm trimming it just a little longer than the marabou tail itself, maybe a 1/4 inch or so. So that's going to flicker like a little flash tail, like so. We can just moisten that to keep it under control, out of the way. Now we're going to add a wire rib using UTC Gold Extra Small. It's going to have a gold body, so we want to choose a wire that complements the body color. If this was a silver humongous, yeah, we would use fine silver wire. So we're just going to bind that in place just behind the eyes and secure the wire along the shank and down to the base of the tail. For the body, we're using gold Krystal Chenille. Again, silver bodied one, obviously silver Krystal Chenille. So we're going to pull off a length from the card. And we're going to use our thumbnail to strip away fibers to expose the core. Tie that in by the exposed core at the base of the tail, making sure we've secured enough of the core along the shank so we've got good purchase. It's not going to pull out when we start winding. And bring that thread so it's hanging just behind the bead, like so. And then we're going to take our Krystal Chenille and just wind it forward in close touching turns. Good firm wraps, good tension on the material up to the back of the bead chain eyes. 2 over top, 2 in front to lock it off, like so. And then this has got a hackle, kind of like a woolly bugger, but it's an oversized, I'm using an oversized Grizzly hackle, so I want longer fibers on this. So just a good saddle like this, good Grizzly saddle that has longer fibers is an excellent choice. I've got a feather here. You can see how these fibers are, you know, bigger than just a little oversized for a 10, probably a number 8 size or even a 6 if you wanted to. So we're just going to prepare this like so. I'm going to strip away some of the fibers to expose the stem. I'm going to tie that in place wet fly style. So that means I've got the convex side of the feather facing forward, or the most prominently marked. So when I wind it, these fibers are going to sweep back. Make sure that's tied in. I'm going to put 1 complete wrap of material, hackle right behind the eyes. You can see how oversized this is, and then pretty open wraps. Got 4 wraps, that's all you need. And then I'm going to attach some hackle pliers to the tip of the feather to act as a weight. And hold that down. And then I'm going to find my gold wire. And then I'm just going to start winding. I'm going to come in and secure the hackle right in front. And just wind this wire forward over the hackle, reinforcing it, really adding durability. Whenever you tie any kind of palmered hackle, this is the way I always do it, whether it's an elk hair caddis, a woolly bugger, or a humongous like this one. So we got that tied in place. I'm going to reach in and at the tie-off point, break away our wire, come in with our scissors points, trim away that excess, and then we're going to pull everything back here and just secure that hackle down. And I'm going to come up in front like so. A little bit of super glue on that tying thread. Hold everything back here. Go through. You could even go back behind the eyes a couple of wraps to get some super glue in there. And then all we're going to do at this point, now that we've done that, is just build up a whip finish, 3 to 5, 6 turn whip finish. Pull that tight, trim away the excess, and there you have it, a humongous. Very popular pattern in England, particularly when trout are on bait fish, if you can believe it. It's a popular brown trout fly, but we strip that around aggressively, long, slow strips or short, choppy strips, get that tail moving. Those fibers are going to pulse and breathe. And again, you tie this in silver-bodied version or a gold-bodied version like this. You should always have some humongouses in your box. It's an excellent pattern in the UK, and it's just as deadly here in North America.